There we go. Hello, my friends. Welcome again. If I hit all the right buttons, we are live on YouTube again for another special episode of Talk Power BI Friday. So hello to everybody who's here. And we do have our friends on the phone in my Learn Power BI family. I see Pascal. I see Scott. I see Steve, our moderator. As always good to see you here, Steve. And I see Joanne. And let's see, who do always good to see you here, Steve. And I see Joanne. Okay, don't want to hear myself twice. Friends, if you're watching on YouTube, just say hello. And I see Sam. Always good to see the familiar faces, the usual suspects. Loretta Sue is here. Loretta, if you want, you can dial in on the phone as well, using the class special pass. And Sam says hot soup and Avi's Power BI. Perfect. That's a great combination. And Jen is here. Hey, somehow, I did have announcements. Gosh. First of all, I'm thankful to you guys, right? Thankful to every one of you. And it's one of those things you may not realize that all of you are my inspiration. So in India, I grew up in India, I grew up in Delhi, and man, it's a land of billion people. I'm not sure it was when I was a kid. I think latest count is 1.3 billion people. There are a lot of people there. That does mean sometimes that life can look like a struggle. But I remember this image from my childhood where we had, so there are people in India who would be around your neighborhood. They would just, be in a corner, just have kind of like a desk there, a large desk, and they would iron your clothes. They would pick it up from your home, and yeah, it's similar to the laundry service here, but yeah, these are just kind of humble folks, just making a living out of that. And we had a person, I think his name was Munna, and they were a family of 4. So it was him, his wife, and his 2 kids, really young kids. At that time. And I remember he would come up to his corner in our neighborhood in the morning on a bicycle, right? Just those regular two-wheeler bicycles, 4 of them, all 4 of them riding the bike. And it sounds maybe a little weird, but in India that wasn't an unusual sight. But somehow that image has always stuck with me as a symbol of. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter whether you feel like you've done it and you've achieved it and you're the mountain of success or something. It's not about that. Life is simply about moving forward. And that's what you guys always remind me of. All right, cool. So this one, the plan was to not have any agenda, and this is the classic Talk Power BI that I've run for a long time, where I would just come in and take your questions. Now, I did have something in mind, so we'll see. That's my backup, but I'll go to your questions. I'm going to shout out some more highs. Sean King says hi from London. Braulio says hello, first time here, Costa Rica. Hola, my friend, good to have you here. And Anthony is here too. That is terrific. So let's start off with a few announcements. So for one, a big thanks to everybody who participated in the 5-day Power BI challenge. Again, kudos to you guys for stepping up, accepting the challenge. Learning comes from doing. So a lot of you stepped up and took part in the challenge, made progress. And the winner this time, I will say, was easy to pick. So Edwin Chewy, and I'm not even sure if my team has notified him. I don't know if you're watching, Edwin. Congratulations, you won. By far, so we checked everything. So the contest had, you had to submit a review. You had to, attend the sessions and so forth. There are multiple things. Edwin was easily the most involved, and I just wanted to read his comment here that he shared with on the YouTube channel, and he talked about, hey, I learned a lot, but I feel like I've only scratched the surface, even though I've been using it for just over a year. My friend, I wrote my first DAX measure in 2009, and some days I feel like I've just scratched the surface. But I'll tell you what excites me and where I feel the possibilities are not necessarily the tech. Now I know some folks are out there, and I see them and I follow some of them, and I totally respect and admire all of them. And I see them and they're writing these page-long DAX formulas, and well, it's good, but maybe not the only way forward. I'll say that. I'll let you decide what's the best way forward for you, right? So I feel that tech is good, but less is more. 20%, focus on that 20% concept that gives you 80% of the results, and let the rest come to you. It's all about kind of putting in action, seeing what results you can get. Cool. Another announcement. So I will be taking December off, although it'll be a bit of a workcation, and I'm excited about that. So I'm going to India after a while. My parents are still there. We're taking a trip, me, my dad, and my son. So 3 generations. We're going to taking a trip to the state of Rajasthan in India, which is incredibly pretty. I've been there as a kid, but now I get to experience it with my son. He'll be there for the first time, and of course, just having my dad there, that's just gravy. So looking forward to that. We would be running Talk Power BI even during that period. I just love hanging out with you guys. What can I say? All right, cool. So enough of the preamble. Let's and again, I do have a back pocket thing, but let's start with folks on the phone. And hey, I said hi to everybody initially. If you join after that, well, hello to you. So my Learn Power BI fam on the phone. If you have any questions for me, go ahead and just ask. I don't keep a keen eye on the chat window, so it's easier to just go and speak. If you did ask in our group, all right, well, I do see your comment actually. So is it, how do I say your name? Joanne or Joan?
It's Joan.
Joan, all right. So Joan,
Yeah.
Joan is asking you need some help with filters. Let's
Yes.
go. So, okay, tell me more.
All right. First of all, I have two tables that are actually fact tables, and I have a common filter, which is a area filter. So basically, this is a classic. I need to compare budget with actuals for the same area and the same account. So what I've done is I've created a lookup table for the area, and that lookup table is connected to the let's say the actual table.
Actually, can I stop you for a second? Is there a way maybe you can
show you my picture?
Yes.
Let me try.
Okay, so I'm gonna make you presenter. And do you have 2 screens?
I do. So
awesome.
I'm going to share
great.
This one.
So yep. So select that one and only what you want to share. Perfect. So I see your relationship view. So I mean data table. So cost, pick, and budget are both data tables. Is that
correct? Correct.
Okay.
They have all my information. This table here, the hierarchy, is how it splits. This is what I ultimately have to produce. So for all of these accounts, which are in both tables, I need to do, this is kind of actual versus budget. And this is the area. So I need to be able to cycle through this area and produce that.
Got it. So let me ask you, so area is coming from hierarchy?
Area is coming from hierarchy, but what I've done is
actually, hold on. So budget I see, but when you say actual, is that coming from the cost pick table?
Cost pick table. That's actual.
Okay. All right. So I will say right away that it's unusual for 2 data tables to be connected to each other. So that cost pick and budget line.
Yes.
It's unusual. So how much have you been able to go through the course so far?
Actually, I was just working on your filters. I produced another uh, document or another visualization on a much more complex thing, and
Yeah.
it worked out very well. This was a request that just came up a couple days ago, and I'll tell you where I'm struggling and what
Yeah.
I may have done this wrong, but what I was doing is I wanted to be able to, here's my hierarchy table, so
Yeah.
I can cycle through the various areas.
Yeah.
But what's happening is this hierarchy is here. This is the hierarchy from Cospic. So as you can see, everything is filtering. What's
Yeah.
not filtering is the area in my activity.
Yeah.
So I am actually, if I look at Pipestone, this is the correct number.
Yeah.
And if I select it here, I
Yeah.
get everything correct here, which I would put in my table.
Yeah. Hey,
But if I don't select it
I want to
there,
make sure this data isn't sensitive, right?
this is kind of changing data.
Okay. All
So
right. Perfect.
it's
Okay. Cool. So let's let's go back to the relationship view. So
yeah. So what I was doing, this is why these two are connected, is because this account group, I have to make a reference to make it the same as these account groups so that I can get everything out identical, because they're not the same accounts. So I make an account custom.
yeah. Hold on. So we'll go back and forth. Let's see
Okay.
if I can present for a bit again.
Yep.
And this screen. Perfect. And let's go. So I realized that it sounds like you have some wrinkles, and that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, real data is always messy data, and I think we should just kind of accept that's the reality. And believe me, I mean, I have encountered like so many different situations, like people like, oh yeah, this is great, Avi, but we do it this way, but our company runs this way, but our data is organized this way, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and that's what you got to deal with. So that's good. But we'll start with the plain vanilla, the adventure works. And why is it taking so long? I should have had it open earlier. Anyway, so well, maybe while it's opening. So when it does open, okay, finally it opened. Great, right on cue. The classic way to set up your tables are to have your data tables down here and
Yep.
have them connect to common lookup tables. And then you can slice and dice them together. You can show them together. Right? So just by doing this, we are able to, not this page, just show sales and budget kind of side by side. And in this case, I have in a graph, but we can do it in a chart and an Excel format. I mean, the formatting, the visualization
Yeah.
is trivial, right? So this is what I would look for. So we can switch back to your data if needed, but that's why this seemed odd. Like, we shouldn't be starting here. We should be starting in this place, and then we know that if we set it up this way, then things would work. So either I want to understand what's stopping you from setting up this way, or basically understand, was there a reason that why you didn't try to set it like so. What I would expect is I would expect this relationship to be active, and I would not want a relationship here. So tell me
Okay.
a little bit about that.
Well, when I set the relationship to be active
Yeah.
on both of them, I am not able to then, I need two filters. I need not only the hierarchy, I need the account
Where is the
as
account?
well. The
Account is
account is
here.
down here somewhere. It's down in this table.
Got
And
it.
this is there's different accounts here than that are here.
Okay,
So
so
I
the
have
accounting here has no correlation with this one?
no, not
Okay.
really,
Well, but
right?
then how does it filter?
How it does is what I wanted to do is filter by the area, Then I
Yeah.
made a special account group here of groupings that I then, this account grouping, I can move to the budget table. No, it's a different
Uh,
one. It's a
got it.
custom.
Got it.
So I made a custom account column, and
Yeah.
that's what I need to filter the
Yeah.
budget column.
Yeah.
So
But
that's what I was trying to do is I thought
yeah.
if I could propagate it.
Yeah, that's right. Um, so this relationship many to many is kind of new, and
So
well,
what I
so
told it was cost pick filters budget. So
s-
maybe I misread
yeah,
this, but I thought if hierarchy filters cost pick and I select the account in cost pick and cost pick filters budget, it should flow through and I only get the budget numbers for
yeah,
whatever I filtered in hierarchy and cost pick.
yeah. So uh, there is. I often see people taking two approaches to Power BI. One is that they have an end goal in mind. Often they have a report in mind, and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, I want to build this. I just want to build that. That's all I care about. And that's okay, but it often serves you better if you break it up. And it's tempting when I'm sitting down with clients. They you know, I mean, when they start talking, they're talking almost exclusively about reporting. Like, hey, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. So when I'm teaching this, I often say that I ignore 90% of what my client is saying, and in this case you can be your own client. So so if you break it up in two steps where you define the model and then worry about the reporting. So if we focus on the model, then the way we're going to define the model is that we would say this is the data table. Maybe we have two data tables, and then
Yep.
we have the lookup tables is the who, what, where, when, how, and some are going to be common. So what I would say in your case is if these two are data tables, this one is actual, this one is budget, area hierarchy is maybe where, and the account is maybe what, right? So the lookup tables are who, what, where, when, how. So the way I would design it, that account should be a lookup table. And
Okay.
and and then you have a custom field created here. I think it's off the screen, right? So we can't see it. Whatever the
Yeah.
custom field is, that would connect here, and you already have it connected here, and then you would activate this one, and
Okay.
you would remove this
Take
guy.
that one out.
And
Okay.
now if you realize, we're back to the standard template. And the best part is that if you stick to this template, I mean, this is so predictable. You would know this inside out. I mean,
Yeah.
as you build models one after the other, so you're gonna know it inside out. You're gonna know how all the patterns work, how to solve it, and all that stuff. So that would be my recommendation. Do you think you
Okay.
have enough? You think you would be able to create a lookup account table?
Yep. I will go work on that now.
Great, great. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of outline for if you know, then for those who are listening, that query editor, I always say that's a kitchen of Power BI. That's where I
Yep.
create the shape. So I would go there and maybe like reference this table. Oops, I messed up.
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect, great. So reference this table, remove
Yep.
duplicates, remove nulls, and that
Remove
would be the account
everything
table.
and just get
Perfect.
my
Yep.
my custom account list, and that should do it.
Great. Hey, try it. I mean, sometimes these
I
calls go
will.
long, and if you hopefully it'll work. Then let us know. If you get stuck, let us know as well. All right.
Thank
Terrific.
you so much.
Awesome. Great. Hey, that was a great start. Let's check in on YouTube. Who else is here? Jen, always good to see you. Hey, when you're in Seattle, I know our meetup in Chicago didn't work, but if you're going to Seattle, Alaska, that's a great way to. Oh wait, I gotta. Let me take back presenter. Oh, I don't know how to do that. Go to meeting. Okay. Sorry guys, it's acting really weird for me somehow. Okay, good. All right. How about we take a question from, let's see, If there's a question on YouTube, Amaretto says BI is based on ETL. Transform your data before you load it. Well, fighting words, my friend. But what I'll say is that the reality that I feel. Let's talk about that a little bit. What is it? 1222. Amaretto BI is based on ETL. Oops.
1222 Amaretto BI is based on ETL. November 13th to 17th Power BI 5-day challenge. www.powerbichallenge.com. November 9, 2018 $1 billion Power BI model with Michael Stant.
All right, I'll start that again. Let's see. Let's go back here. So, I think the reality is that IT. Yeah, I mean IT. When they take on projects, they're like, "Yep, ETL, do this, do that." But the reality of the business is that IT is never gonna deliver you 100% of what you need, and frankly, the way that IT and business are going to come together is IT to recognize that. To recognize that we will never, ever, it's theoretically impossible for us to fill 100% of the needs of the business user. Just admit it and start from that point. And it's not like a failure or something, it's just the truth. For one, business always keeps changing, right? I mean, if only the business would stay still, then we wouldn't need any of that. Hey, folks on the phone, if you can just go on mute. If you're not talking, that'll be great. Great, we're back here. So let's start from that point, right? So and frankly, the audience that I serve is on the business side, right? So, and that's where I spend most of my life, and I spend time in IT as well. But there, I mean, what's they don't have like the formal ETL or anything, and so self-service BI, it's a buzzword now, but it's been a reality for decades or more. Self-service BI is nothing new. Business user, for the longest of times, have been helping themselves, but they were doing it the painful way. They were doing the extremely painful way. They were cobbling data together from here and there, doing 1001 kind of manual steps, and then generating something which was, kind of a one-time throwaway thing. Like, yep, I got this, but then I'll have to spend 5 hours again to make any changes or to refresh it, right? So self-service BI has always been there, always been there. Let's not delude ourselves, but it was extremely painful for business users. What has changed now is that now we're taking away the pain. All right, cool. So for the business user, I mean, the ETL is inside your query editor. That's my ETL tool. I'm not gonna wait around for IT 3 months or whatever, submit a service request and have them do the requirements document and then wait 3 months for something to happen. I'll just go do it myself. And of course, IT in turn can keep an eye on what the business users are doing, and instead of trying to respond to 1001 requests, pick the winners. See what the business users are doing. They're going to try out 1001 things, but only 5 of them are going to work, The rest they're going to throw away. They're not going to use it themselves either. So instead of trying to do all of them, you just pick the winners and say, great, Josh, you did it for yourself. We're going to include it in the model because in our IT system, because now it's useful enough that it's going to serve everybody else. All right, cool. Let's see. Amaretto, am I offering consulting? Very limited, I would say. I've gotten really picky with consulting, and what I'm trying to do now, actually, you know what? This is kind of a cool announcement I have. I'm trying to work with my students because I have so many amazing students, and for those who know, inside my course, we have the main course, but then we have like the next level, the pro level as well. So those students, I'll be working with them to somehow be able to serve those who are looking for consulting. Anyway, that's going to come soon, sometime next year. Truth Seeker says hello from Texas. Thank you, Diana. Thank you for your words. Moretto had more comments about that. Let's see if there's anything else. Manuel is here. Manuel, it was good hanging out with you in Chicago. Is there anything you can't do in Power BI that you would have to do in Access? I don't remember the last time I thought about Access. It's I wouldn't think Access. I would say Excel. So let's try that. Is there anything you cannot do in Power BI? There is one which I have found hard, and frankly I haven't tried it, which is an Excel file, a really, really complicated Excel file, which is doing some kind of complicated, so not simple, but like lots of different factors, what if analysis and projections, and some kind of complex models. Those are not easy to build in Power BI. I mean, Excel's flexibility there can be a strength. Again, we're not talking about simple stuff. Simple stuff, Power BI is still the way to go. But really complicated stuff, not that it's impossible to build in Power BI, but especially if it's kind of one-time use, so I don't know. Then Power BI, the strength is you build one model, use it forever. Yeah, you refresh it, and boom, it's done. Oh boy, you guys are chatty today. I can't keep up. Guy, good to see you here. No worries. Is there any way we can capitalize on Power BI during forecasting or budgeting process, not just reporting? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was almost going to say a swear word, but I stopped myself because it's so awesome. So look at one of the last Talk Power BI. By the way, guys, this is all available in a playlist right on my
Do you like
right
epic comeback stories?
Wait, why? This shouldn't be the first one. That is weird. But if you go back to billion-dollar financial model,
okay,
that was on 9th November by Michael Stanton, and he's in charge of kind of budgeting. He handles, kind of coordinates a budget of half $500 million, and now that model is going to be expanded to other departments. He works for State of New Mexico Department of Health, and let's just speed through some of the video. And he laid out this whole process of how they collect the forecasting numbers, the projections from the team. And this really, and possibly I'll do a video of my own one day, but my experience with budgeting forecasting was that, so this was in Microsoft, that we would start with a big number at the top, right? And then it would kind of like percolate down every level, and then you would have to collect it back up. Okay, that visual doesn't look great, but you get the idea, right? So it was different departments, you would spread it out and pull it back together. And we did use Excel and Power BI. And of course, modern Excel has Power BI built in. It has both of the exclusive features you see, the query editor engine and the DAX engine. So, modern Excel has Power BI in it, so you can use either one. So the combination of those, and we would use that. So watch Michael Stanton's video. That's going to give you some ideas, and you can go from there. Okay, there's some discussion about QuickBooks, which I think I don't have the full context here in Truthseeker's comment. So Nolly Booker is saying, how can I write DAX in direct query mode? Most of the DAX formulas are not supported in direct query. Well, so it's a trade-off. So often we talk about Power BI, and it's not about right or wrong. It's about understanding the trade-offs. And some of you, so of course the students inside my program, they have participated in what we call the real Power BI projects. And what we do there is we bring in a real business person and just work on a Power BI project in a class setting, right? So that's what real Power BI has been about. And we've done 2 of those so far, with Kimberly Kennedy and with Lisa Randall. And what I realized by doing that, by going through that process, is I found out the two key things. Like, what is data modeling? Like, what is it that I'm doing when I'm building a solution for my client? When I'm building this for my client, what is it that I'm doing? Well, it turns out I'm doing two things. So far, I only figured out two. There may be more. But the first thing is that I'm making, well, it sounds kind of simple, but building a model is about coming to crossroads again and again and making decisions. Right? And the second one is assumptions. You have to always, you may not even realize it, but you're always making assumptions as you're building a model. You're assuming that the world works this way that you're trying to model. Now, sometimes the assumptions would be right, sometimes they wouldn't be right, and then you would refactor it and so forth, right? So that's the two things. So it's about decision points. So if you go to direct query, well, that is a trade-off. So direct query Power BI, they say it right there. So if you don't want those limitations, well, the other choice is import. Yeah, so I would say that my default is always import. And I would say yours should be too, unless you can convince me of why you need direct query. All right, so yeah, and again, it's going to have to be trade-off. So if you need direct query, you will say, I need direct query for XYZ reasons. So that's the benefit that I'm going to get. But the disadvantage is all these limitations. And that's one reason why import, I say, is the default. Because I don't know about you, my friend, but I don't like working with one hand tied behind my back, right? So I want the full capability of Power BI, not in both the query editor engine and DAX. So maybe if you can talk and tell me a little more about your situation. We'll do call-ins for the folks on YouTube as well. Difference between join. Kamal is asking difference between a join and merge in Power BI. Okay, let's take that really quick. Can you give us a quick sample of Power BI Gateway? Oh, let me know what to do. All right, let's talk about. So when you say, and Kamal, I think you had a question about something not working. Your DAX was not working in a calculated column. If you still have that, let me know. We can take a look at that. So when you say join, there isn't a concept of join, as far as I know, in Power BI. I mean, it has relationships. Actually, it does have some DAX functions which use the terminology join, like there's cross join and maybe something like that. I don't use that often, but there's relationships which I try not to think of that as join, because I don't know, it's just different. So I did come with SQL knowledge, and initially I was tripping up because these don't quite work like joins. So I don't think of them as joins. And now here, merge is, I think it's really similar to a join. So let me go find a merge over here. So if you go merge queries, so I think the default is like left inner join. Oh yeah, there we go, right? So okay, so merge is like a join, and same way a SQL join has different types. I think in SQL the one that I would use was inner. In here, left outer, right outer. So yeah, it's the same thing. I think this one translates pretty similarly to how joins work in SQL, but I never see relationships the same way. All right, cool. So hey, I took some questions on YouTube. Let's go back to our phones. Yeti, good to see you here. So on phone, if you have any questions, let me see. So sorry, I the chat window, I stay more focused on YouTube, so you can just speak up. But now that I'm looking at it, all right. So I see Yeti. I see a question from you. Let's see if we can hear you. Say hi.
Hi, Avi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. I just wanted you to talk on the difference between calculate and calculate all function.
Okay. Let's try that. 37. So, is there really a calculate all function?
Yeah, I was told by a friend, a study mate, that he was recently asked that at an interview.
Okay, so
But I
it's
haven't come across it before. I just thought to ask you about it.
got it. So I don't think it's one function. It's all using all inside calculate. That's what they're talking about. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because well, Google yeah, Google is not finding a calculate all as it does. So all the references here are I'm pretty sure are all inside a calculate. But let's talk about that.
Thank you.
All right, let's take now. Well, let's so calculate and calculate with all. All right, so let's take them first separately. Calculate is simple because calculate is the magic wand. So calculate is one of the few functions that can change a filter context. The other functions are, and folks, I need some help here. There is calculate table. Is there any other function which changes the filter context? Anybody who knows on the phone or on YouTube, let me know. I don't know. Those are the only ones I know. Calculate and calculate table. But maybe there's another one. Maybe there isn't. If there is anything else which changes that, let me know. All right, let's go with that for now. Calculate table are both really similar. They're both magic ones. Calculate is the one I use 99% of the time. The only difference between calculate and calculate table is calculate, this returns a scalar value. That's a fancy term for like a single value. So you cannot return a table. Return table. Calculate table, well, returns a table, right? So it returns a table. So when you want to return a table, then you would do this, calculate table, sorry. And yeah, I use that very rare. You should not use calculate table. Do not use I'll just copy. Calculate table to shape your data. Just, you're not gonna make me happy, all right? So data shaping happens in the query editor for many reasons, good reasons. Avoid that. Calculate table is for special cases. Often I use that as passing into calculate. Okay, where's these? Yeah, that's true. So, oh yeah, oh gosh, yeah. So I blanked out. So yeah, you're right. There are quite a few functions which do change the filter context, all and all its variations. Yeah, somehow I don't think about them because I always use them in conjunction with calculate. All right, so calculate, that's what it does. Now what? So let's go with that. And what does all do? All clears filters. Let's see over here. Simplest is, let's try. Let's try something like this. So we have country, group, region. I'm pretty much doing the table over here. And sales territory key. Let's try that. Okay. And we're gonna do something here. Group. Oh, group is over here. Let's try group as a slicer and country as a slicer and region as a slicer. Alright, so now if we say modeling new measure, we're just gonna do a simple measure, just count rows. That's it. So we'll say count rows of territory equals count rows territories. There we go. Okay, let's stick that there. Okay, actually let's do this as a table as well, but I'm gonna change the display to make it a little fancy. How is it? Style. Something alternating rows. Okay. Actually, it's gonna be fun. Oops. Values. No. Okay. Good enough. So we have count rows is just doing that. Now, if now obviously measures, they have a magical property in there, which is it's there's something that's implied in there. So notice that the measure is the same, count rows territories. So the answer should be 11, but it's not 11 all the time, because if I say North America, it says 6. If I say Pacific, it says 1. If I say Europe, it says 3. So the measure is it's tricky. So the way to always read a measure is this, but then there is an implied part which is in the current filter context. And by the way, this is inside the course. This is also on our channel. If you look for the I can principle, that's the way to, so look at the playlist here, the I can rule to understand DAX measures, and they all work the same way. So in here I talk about that. So that part is implied in the base. So this is based on the incoming filter context. Now filter context is simply a filtered set of rows. That's all it is. So I can change the filter context. So let's try with an all. So we'll say count rows. We can say all territories. Let's see how. I gotta change the name. All territory. What happened there? Okay, so we got our second one. So now this one is using all. Now this is interesting because already it's saying 12, and that's because there is a blank one that Power BI adds. I wouldn't go into that, but that's it's there. But let's try if we say North America. So the first one would respect it, but the second one is always gonna say all because it's clearing those filters. Now, of course, we can get a little. We can also rewrite the same thing a different way. So now let's try count rows. Let's do calculate all. So we would say calculate, And then I like reusing my measures, so we already have the count rows territory measure. Now if I just say this, obviously by itself it's not going to do anything. It's let's go back over here, right? So this measure isn't complete. Oops, yep, there we go. Oh, come on, Power BI. Let's go over there and let's add this one. So by simply adding calculate, we didn't really do anything. And I see that sometimes in measures that people have written, and I'm like, why are you doing it? And you know, and I don't know. So by itself does nothing, so it's behaving exactly like that one. So North America 6.6. But if we come back over there, and we can say this one is all and territories. All right, now this should now behave exactly like that one, except it doesn't. Holy moly. Wow, so maybe this is what they're talking about. I mean, I kind of knew about this, but forgot about it, the blank one. So theoretically, let's try this in a different table. All right, let's oh, this is going to be so much fun. Let's try this not in a lookup table, but in a sales inner data table. And my theory is that there, you're not going to see what you're seeing here. So let's go to our sales table. I'm going to just create a separate folder for this. Wow, that was that's kind of a really tricky question. I mean, if they're asking that question, I hope they're looking for DAX experts. Okay, let's say formulas. Let's load that there. So we're gonna define the same. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Maybe I should just close this window. Oh gosh, yeah. I feel silly now if it's saying calculate and calculate table is the only one. So yeah, somehow, I think I was thinking that way because I use most of the time in inside calculate. Anyway, I wouldn't say that again now. All right, so now let's do another version of this. How can I change the color so that I know it's different? Column headers, background color, something dark. Let's do purple. All right, cool. And we're gonna go here, and we're gonna say new measure count rows sales. Count rows sales equal same as that one, so we're just mirroring what we had done for the territory table. And my theory is that this is going to be different. We're going to find out. If it's not, I'll eat my hat. Okay, cool. So let's come over here. So we have count rows sales 27666. This is big enough that I'm going to put a comma in there. Okay, cool. And now I'm going to go back and recreate those ones. The all. So I'm going to copy this, come back here, say new measure, paste that, and count row all sales. Okay, now add it. Now my theory is that this is not going to have that one extra element. Now if you remember, this one, the all one, had, like, if you look at the table itself, right? If you go look at the table, let's look at this in this view, you'll be like, where the heck is the 11th element, the 12th element? There isn't. So it's kind of puzzling, but Power BI, for good reasons, it kind of creates a blank one there. So that's what this one says 11, this one says 12, but my theory is that for the count row is going to be the same. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, dang it. Wow. I didn't expect that. So I'll have to go read up on why it does that. But clearly, it's doing the same thing. It's adding one row for blank. Oh, I think I know why it's happening, because it's not a pure data table. Because this one is a lookup table for this guy. So oh, you know what? Let's just do it in budget. So sorry guys, it's taking a bit longer, but let's just do the same thing for budget. And hey, if this doesn't work, then we'll go back on our journey with Yeti. So count rows. Okay, so budget is not a lookup table. So my theory is count rows budget and count rows all budget is gonna be the same. Okay, we got that. Count rows budget. Let's just do that. 252. All right. And let's just do all budget. So let's go back over there. All budget. All right, I'm a little bit nervous. So again, I'm looking for 252. 252, bingo. Whew. Yeah, so this phenomena of an extra row being added for blank happens for lookup tables. And it happens usually, I don't think it happens all the time. It happens when there are some product keys here which are not over there. Or maybe it happens all the time actually, because I don't know, right? So anyway, so there's some phenomena there. So now so let's forget sales for now. Let's take on budget. Again, it's a data table, so nothing different. The only key is that this one is not a lookup table. So now let's do the last version of that, the calculate all version. So let's go back over here and let's come back over here, and we're gonna do, and I think in this case the result is gonna be the same. So calculate count rows, calculate all, and this time I'm saying budget, and I will say count rows budget, yes, all budget, right? So I'll change that. And of course I'm using count rows because it's a simple measure, but you can substitute that for anything. It can be sum, min, max, whatever you want, right? So all of that kind of works when you're working with all and stuff. And my theory is that. So you notice here that the two versions. Let's keep all of them together. So there's one version. So I think this is what they're asking about in the interview. And again, this is a slightly tricky question. Not a kind of question that I would ask, because well, I'm more a fan of kind of the concepts, right? Modeling and so forth, rather than arcane knowledge of DAX. I don't really think that's where it's at. And that's what gives you the best value. So I talk about the 80-20 rule, the 20% that gives you the 80% of the results. I don't think this kind of stuff belongs in that 20%. And so my theory is that there is that 20% that gives you 80% of the results. This one should be pushed to you. So this one is best to get in a course where somebody just gives it to you. And you don't have to sign up for my course. You can sign up for any course that you like. But then the rest of the journey, right? So the rest of the stuff, it's worth acquiring for sure, because it's going to give you the next 20% of the results, right? And it gets but that one you can easily pull. You can pull to it when you need it. Like I can always. All right, cool. So if we look at this, so Yeti, to answer your question, they are equivalent except when used for lookup tables, then they can be off by 1. Yeah, I don't know. Did that help? Sorry, I know for somebody, if you're starting out,
yeah,
it's a little overwhelming. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit clearer now.
Perfect. That's
Thank
great.
you. I'll do more exercises to get myself up.
Yeah, and frankly, I'm not too gung-ho about this question, but certainly all understanding that and playing around with it is can be a lot of fun. So let's just do something fun here. So here I was doing calculate all territories. So I was clearing the complete table. Let's just do a variation of that where I would say I'm gonna something like that. Oops, let's try that again. New measure. And you can do where you don't clear everything. Let me think which one would be the best one. So I'll say clear all country. How about that? And again, there's all except as well, which is clear everything but that. So instead of all territories, I can say only clear the filter on this. And you can also add multiple columns. So you can do that too. So let's see how this one behaves. So now what this one is doing is, remember, it's clearing the filter only on country. So calculate, let's put it right next to this guy. So now if I click on a country, Australia, Canada, France, that's reflected in an original measure, but this one is clearing the country filter. But if my filter is slightly different, it's Europe, then it doesn't clear that. It does respect that. So if I go anything else than country, then it's not clearing that. But if I add all of these filters in there, yeah, so definitely a lot of scenarios. It's pretty flexible. All right, cool. Let's see what you guys have been talking about on YouTube. Arthur, thank you for that comment. Sam, to you as well. Let's try. Oh, we're up on the hour, so let's do one more call for folks on the phone. So my Learn Power BI fam friends, if you have any questions, go ahead. I usually forget about the chat window, but I see.
Avi, it's this is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, I don't really have a question, but I do want to thank you for that. What we worked out in the private session the other day.
All right.
It worked beautifully.
Oh, that's great.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I had a situation where we had a fee that could vary. It could get updated and change, and we were able to work it out using an unrelated table. That was something that I never would have come up with, and I got to thinking, that could be useful if you had a situation where, I say, a price had changed, a cost had changed, anything like that. And I do have a. Mm-hmm. If anybody's interested, I could show it. It just takes a minute.
Sure, let's do that.
You want me to do it?
Yep. Hold on.
Because I think it may be related to Kamal's question about.
All right, go for it.
Okay, a join versus a merge, and I think he's talking about Power BI Power Query. So very simply, because I know we don't have too much time, but up here we have a data table.
Mm-hmm.
Down here we have the lookup table.
So if I may interject, so guys who don't know, if you don't know, Steve Ross works at a racetrack. Isn't that cool? I always get a kick out of that. And here commissions is dollars, and they're tracking kind of commissions coming on from these different races that happen there. All right, carry on.
Yeah. So what happens is you can think of this handle column as sales in any other business. That would be sales.
All right.
You have this lookup table here, which identifies I'll call it the vendor.
Yeah.
In layman's terms.
Yeah.
And it does differentiate between horse tracks and greyhound tracks.
Yeah.
Now, where I got stuck was I was trying to relate this to the sales table, and I couldn't because I had the fee in there, and it was not a one-to-many relationship, and it just wasn't going to work.
So if I can generalize the scenario, you're calculating commissions based on the sales, and in this case, so I think anybody who is trying to do something similar, maybe sales commission for their sales staff or something else. Sometimes people run like rebate program, which have the same structure. Like the more customer buys, this is the rebate that they get. So that's
sure.
kind of the structure here, right?
Yeah, I think this is applicable in many scenarios. So down here we have the unrelated, what I call the fee table, and I'll go in.
Yeah.
And look at the model here.
And the fee, and this was where you were getting stuck, was that if the fee was always the same and never changed,
then you have no problem.
Fine,
but that's not the case.
Last year the fee was this, the commissions were calculated based on this percentage, and now it is this percentage. And of course, I think it seems like you have simplified your scenario on this, but of course, in your scenario it was like this fee and that fee and something like that. But
this is just very simple model because you can see all the tables and the output on the same screen.
Perfect.
So down here, you could see multiple entries for track code for several things, and the fee during that particular time period
from
is
January
valid.
to February, the fee was at a certain percentage, and then it changed in March. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So just to show it off. So this is at let's just say 80%. Let's just say it changed to 99%. Just for the purposes of, so you can see then in the March, that's going to go to $99. But the January and February stay the same. Should go to $99.
All right, yeah, still refreshing. And for those, sometimes people see Excel and they're like, "Whoa, this is not Power BI." But of course, as most other folks know, there is a Power BI inside Excel. So, Steve, I imagine you're using the Power Query and Power Pivot.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
now, for some reason, this is taking a long time to update. There it is. There we go. We're there.
Perfect. So so I had a screenshot of that on my screen. I'll put them for the YouTube viewers. I'll put them side by side. So what happened here is, can you go back to that? Yeah, I just want to compare the before and after pivot. So the March AQU,
right?
Got it. So in February, Aqueduct is still using the old percentage, 0.05. So 5% makes sense. So that didn't change, but you changed the March one to 99, and now we can see that now this is the new one based on the 99, and the old one was 0.8, I think. Perfect. So it feeds that in. And go ahead, take us through the rest of the tour.
This is where it'll get more interesting is in here. So the data model, you've got two lookup tables.
It's great, yeah.
Ultimate calendar table. I think we're missing something here. It might be out to the side.
Oh, I think that was in the query editor. There's no reason to load that in the model.
Yeah, maybe I didn't. Yeah, I guess I didn't do that. So here's your tables
that's the right thing to do. That one is a throwaway table.
Right. So this is just your model.
Yeah, actually, but if you do me a favor, go to the query editor.
Yeah.
And let's open the query dependencies view. I always love seeing that.
I'm trying.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm gonna take this time to scan the questions. Okay, Arthur, I see a question about budget versus actual. We're gonna come back to that.
Oops.
Oh boy, yeah, Nolly, I feel you, my friend. Yeah, so the direct query, huge volume of data, updating every second. That is a legitimate case for direct query, but unfortunately it does come with that. Did it pop up on like a different window?
That's what I'm looking for. Is it hiding somewhere?
Yeah.
No, I don't. No. Oops. Hang on.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
Try.
Wait, there. Wait. There it is. So tagging. It's hiding behind the go-to meeting thing. So here's. All right. So if I open up, let's just say sales.
Yeah, actually, in there, let's go to.
Okay. Can I do it some? Oops.
Go to the query dependencies view.
Is that in here somewhere?
So go at the top in the view tab, and the last button. Yep. And can you maximize that? I mean, this one is pretty compact, but still. And hit the well, this is good enough. Yeah. So we used the fees table, and notice it says not loaded. So we used that to calculate our commissions, but then we didn't load it in the model because we didn't need it. So that's good. And do you want to walk us through that logic?
Sure.
There?
Yeah. So what you see then over here, if you look at this model, so this is imported from the data. This is just a straight import. And you now here's where you get to the merge. And if you look at so what it's doing, it's essentially performing a left inner join, taking all of the tables, all of the rows of the sales table, and bringing in all of the rows from the fees table that have a matching track code. So you wind up with double the number of rows in the sales table once this merge is completed, which was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
So then you wind up with, when it's all said and done, but this is where you then do a comparison of the sales transaction date with the ranges that you have in the fees table, and you have a statement here where
this one checks which one are valid rows.
Right. So then you have you create a column that checks to see, does this date fall between these two dates? Yeah. If it does, you'll get the result true. If it doesn't, you'll get the result false, and then you filter out the falses, and then do the computation.
So this looks great, and I know we worked on this on our call. So thanks for modeling this in this simple setup. This makes it much easier to understand. Have you applied it on the real model, and did everything work okay there?
Works perfectly.
Sweet. That's terrific. Great to know.
So, yes, thank you for that. I will tell you, I never would have come up with that on my own, ever.
Ever. Oh boy, I'm glad I was able to help. So that one, we were talking about trade-offs. So I'll share with you guys. So thanks so much, Steve, for sharing that. But I'll share with everybody else that we were. Oops. Don't need this. We were when me and Steve were discussing it, we had discussed two approaches to it. One was the query editor approach that you saw, and the other is a pure DAX approach. And we didn't go that path, but I think it'll be interesting to do that and then combine. So we were talking about earlier about trade-offs and such, and decision-making crossroads. That's what modeling is. And the example there was direct query versus import. And again, the default kind of best practices, if I may, is import. But then, as Nolly is sharing, there are scenarios where direct query is valid. You would make that choice. You would understand the trade-offs and make that choice. But again, it does come with trade-offs. Another classic thing is a DAX kind of versus M or the query editor. So a lot of things can be solved in both. And the general rule is that kind of any ETL, which is data clean shape transform, default should be query editor, right? You shouldn't even think about it. It should be in query editor. That should be the default go-to, right? Don't do it in DAX. Please don't. Just do, I see that and I'm like, why are you doing it, my friend? And then any math, any calculation is generally should be DAX. Again, you shouldn't think about it. That should be your go-to default. But now once you get beyond the basics, and once you're starting to have a little bit of fun in Power BI, then you need to run into scenarios like the one Steve mentioned, which can be solved in both. And it's so much fun to try to solve them in both and see the trade-offs. And yeah, I mean, there are trade-offs for both. But again, if you're starting out, don't let any of that worry you. Just go with the best practices. Import. And if you're clean shape transforming, like kitchen of your Power BI is the query editor, and do the math in DAX. Keep it simple. But after that, you can have some fun. All right, cool. I didn't share it. My screen on GoToMeeting. Okay, we should be back on there. All right, so Brian, it seems you had a question.
Actually, I think I hit the wrong button,
okay.
Avi.
All right, you're trying to mute. That's good. All right, Dan, you were asking about data source connection. Is it okay to use a stated procedure or not? Ooh, that's a good one. Let's go there. 14. Dan is asking, is it okay to use a stored procedure and data source? Oh, I love this one because again, this is one of those subtle questions, kind of trade-offs. So I can connect to a data source, let's say a SQL server, and I can say I just want to connect to the database and just do all the heavy lifting myself. So I will say import, just hit OK, select a table, and then do whatever transformation that I'm doing in there. So I can then say, give me this, give me, I don't know, maybe this customer, and I'll say edit, and then do something there. I'm going to do like a trivial example. I can say, so I can come over here, and then in the query editor, again, I'm in the kitchen of Power BI. I have all my cooking utensils available here. So man, I feel in power, my friend, empowered. So I can do anything I want. Now group by, I would say is unusual, but let's just have fun with it. So customer, let's is there a country, customer city, something, I don't know, by occupation. Count rows, let's just do count rows, right? So we do something like this, and of course we can go way beyond that in the query editor. It's got so many tools available to it. So you can go Ninja here, or you can go to your SQL server and write a stored procedure which has all the logic built in, or I don't know, maybe some of the logic built in, and now you go in here and you call that SQL a stored procedure in a statement. You just call that, right? So that's option A. Option B. So let's come back over here. So option A, connect to database transformations in query editor, and option B, connect to stored procedure. Oops, what did I do? Connect to stored procedure. Now, of course, sometimes the option choice is easy because, and again, I work mostly on the business user side, you don't have access to the database. You don't have access to the database. You don't have rights to create a stored procedure. You could submit a request to the DBA team, but man, you're gonna have to justify it, give some requirements, talk to somebody, talk to a human. Oh my gosh, that's the last thing I want to do. No, just kidding. Right? And then go through that, and then it might be some time before they give it back to you. So for me, that's almost a non-option. I would say, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do it myself, right? So option A. If you right, so that's one. If your access to DB is limited, like you're not a DB on there, so that one makes it easier. Then I would lean towards option A. There's another more subtle reason why I generally lean towards option A, and this is also one of the reasons that I prefer doing my ETL clean shape transform in query editor and not in DAX. Because when I started building models, this is where I got in trouble. So imagine that there is the source, right? And then there is the query editor, right? So and then you put it in the model, and in the model, if you want, you can do things in DAX. You can add calculated column and all that stuff and all that, right? So that's what creates your model. And after that, you have some math, which is DAX measures. Now, of course, for one, don't try not to do any of the math in any of the previous phases. Again, I mean, that's the best practice. If you break that rule, you better know why you're doing it. Like, oh, I'm doing it. You better be able to justify it to me. It's like, Avi, I did this because X, Y, Z, right? So that's the rule. But what about the data shaping, right? So we can do it here in SQL in like stored proc. But in my experience, what happened was that sometimes I would do something in SQL, and then I would do some stuff in the query editor, and then I would do some stuff in DAX. Now, when this happened, debugging became a nightmare. And as a model author, well, building models is exciting, but you have to maintain them too. So I think as much about maintaining a model as I think about it being used. So I follow a lot of best practices. One of those is simply documentation, and I talk about that in the query editor, DAX measure, and so forth, right? So documentation, I love that. I love that now. I used to hate it because now you can have systems which are essentially self-documenting. Okay, I'm going off on tangents. I'll pull myself back. So debugging is a real thing. I mean, if you're maintaining a model, you own it, inevitably you're going to have people come up to you and tell you those words that you used to dread. This data doesn't look right. And oh my gosh, that used to give me the shivers, shiver me timbers back in the day when I had a hodgepodge of spaghetti of formulas and sheets and stuff, and because then I would be sitting down with all those wires like, oh, this connects to that and that, I don't know what's going on. But now it's cleaner. But still, when I would be debugging, if I put it in 3 places, there were 3 places I had to look. All right, I had to say, what did I do this? Did I do it in the DAX? Let me check. Oh, no, it's not in DAX. Oh, let me check the query editor. Oh, no, it's not in the query. Oh, that one I did in stored proc, right? And I got so tired of that for myself, I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this. So that, I would say, is the best practice because it's going to keep you clean, right? I mean, it's going to, you say, hey, there's something in the model, you go to the query editor, you solve it there. Now, of course, there are exceptions. One of those exceptions is as you start to use query editor pretty heavily, you would run into scenarios where it's not very fast. And often that's not a concern. because you can set up automatic refresh. That's what we had. Our models took more than an hour to refresh, but nobody cared because we ran it overnight. We came in the morning, everybody had recent data. So usually that's not a problem, but sometimes it is. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to live with that and I want to speed it up. That's the most common scenario where we did go to the stored proc, because man, SQL is a beast. There are certainly things which if you did in the query editor, in spite of the query folding and all that stuff, it just ended up being slow, and we moved to SQL and it was really fast. So there are some exceptions, but generally I stay in the query. All right, so Dan, hopefully I gave you some pointers about this. All right, cool. I see you're in mute. I hope you got all that. All right, cool. Let's check back. And guys, we're past the R. A lot of you are still... Well, why should I be surprised? A lot of you are on. So let's open up the lines for the call-in. So if you haven't already, go to talkpowerbi.com, sign up for the Insiders Club, and once you're in, my friend, then you have the call-in line. And yeah, just go click on the call-in link, and I'm going to activate it right now, and you should be able to call in. So I'll wait for you guys to dial in. Again, if you're Insiders Club, just go to the Insiders Club page. You have the link. If not, go to www.talkpowerbi.com, and that would sign up for the Insiders Club and have the call-in link. All right. While I'm waiting, let me scan this thing, the comments. And Arthur was asking, you didn't talk about the trade-offs between two approaches, presenting budget versus actual. Curious about that. Well, so I'm going to retrace my conversations. Well, so of course, so again, gosh, so the way I see it, there's only one way. I'm not really sure what you mean by the other way. So if you go back here, I really think that budget versus actual, this is pretty much the only way. And I know Joan was trying it differently, but it wasn't working to begin with for her. So it's kind of a non-option, I think. So yeah, sales versus budget, I think that one is cut and dried. That one is just data tables, put them there, lookup tables up top, and guys, I talk about this endlessly because it's important. You shape your data in this manner and visually organize them in this manner. Believe me, if you've been on the last Talk Power BI calls, it's crazy how many times people have come to me with models kind of looking like, looking like something like this, and then we have solved their problem simply by moving around the table. And hey, this is the first thing that I do. If you're consulting or if you're a student, I'm helping you, I'll take keyboard control from you and do exactly this. All right, so we have solved it by doing this, and I messed some of them up, and then understanding how relationships work, that the default should be one-to-many, and they flow downhill. If there are exceptions, then we make it flow uphill. Anyway, I'm getting carried away for relationships. All right, guys, so hey, I'm still waiting for my first caller. So again, is it on? Where did my Zoom go? Actually, I'm not sure if the call is still active. Let's see. Yeah, I use Zoom for that, but I'm not very familiar with it. Oh, maybe I closed it. Okay, guys, so try that again if you're on the phone. Hey, while we're waiting on the phone, if there are any questions, here we go. So I have budget on. So Arthur, see if you can call in and we can talk about that. But let's see. So you're saying I have budget on many to one side since I can have their forecast versions. Well, you can't. You really shouldn't connect these two together. So let's say I think I do have. many forecast versions in a sample file, in a financial dashboard somewhere. Let me dig it up for you. It's on my channel as well. So if you go on my channel and look for this one. Sorry, it's not named. It's not the best name, but this one is.
If you go on Amazon.com,
basically the webinars that I've done with Microsoft, and there's this one which says impactful financial dashboards, and that one has multiple scenarios on there. You know, it's not what you need to do. I think you can either get the versions and make that a lookup table. So you can say versions, and in Microsoft we had there was one budget that was done at the beginning of the year. So, and then there was the Q1 forecast, and then Q2 and Q3, Q4 forecast, right? So this was that. I've heard of companies which revise their forecast monthly. So they would have like Jan forecast and February forecast and so forth, right? So you would do that and use that as a link to this, and you can select that on the report. That's one option. Or you can select that inside DAX. So you can say calculate, give me budget for where version equals Q1 forecast, something like that. Let's see. All right. All right, guys. Arthur, man, you're really pushing me. Huh? So why shouldn't we connect budget and sales? Budget and actual. Oh God. It's bad juju. It's really bad juju. I don't know. So again, let's go back to the discussion we were having with Joan. I keep forgetting her name. And the discussion was that there are two ways to Power BI. There are two ways to Power BI. One is that you have this tunnel vision, right? Imagine the horses with the blinders on to the end result that you want. And you say, I want this. I'm going to show actuals and budget by this, and this, and blah, blah, blah. And that's it. That's all I want, right? So what you would end up building there are reports. And that's going to be unfortunate, because this is what you're really doing. So in the old world, man, I had, and I have a fancy Excel slide for this somewhere, but I would have lots and lots of Excel files. Lots and lots of Excel files. Maybe I should pull it up rather than drawing it, right? So imagine a mountain of Excel files, and yeah, that was all my reports. This reported this reported that. Do you really want to trade a whole tower, pyramid, whatever, cave network of Excel files with a cave network of Power BI files? Please don't do that. Because if you end up there, you would realize that you're not much better off than the world you were started in. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. So you do not want to be creating reports. You want to be creating a model. Now, what's the difference between building reports and building a model? Model answers the questions you're trying to ask right now, but it also answers the next question they're going to come up. What happens when you build a report? What happens when you show something data in a meeting? Inevitably, they say, that's great. What about this? Why is it doing that? There's always that question. And that's how BI should be. It should be like peeling the onion. It should be easy. So the model makes it easy. It lets you answer the question that you're answering right now, that you're asking right now. The next questions are going to come, and if you do it right, it's going to let you answer the questions you're going to ask in a year from now. It's that incredible, right? So different between model and report. So when you build a model, you don't have that blinder vision of I'm building this. No. And that's why I said to Joan, when I'm sitting down with a client and they're talking to me about the requirements, I ignore 95% of that. I don't actually ignore, I write it down for later, because what they're talking to me, they keep talking to me about the reports. I'm only listening for the 5%. And the 5% that I'm listening for is, what is the business process they're measuring? That's going to make it my data table. So, okay, they got. And again, I mean, this is a simplistic example, but like, okay, they're trying to measure this, and that's going to be your data table. And then I'm asking, what's the who, what, where, when, how of this, right? So again, sales kind of makes it simple, but it is simple. So again, when you do this who, what, where, when, how, you all of these entities kind of make sense, and then you don't need to hook these up. Oh boy, yeah, because the way to make it work is through the common lookup tables, and it just I don't know, it serves you much better in the long run, because this is a classic system. And frankly, by the way, so the concepts that I have here, they come from data warehouse design, which is ages old, which I've never studied. My only study of data warehouse design was one of my dear friends, Greg Weber, amazing guy, who ran a book club on Kimball's data warehouse design book, and we would all show up without having read the chapters, and he was so disappointed. Every book club meeting, he would end up teaching the chapter. So yeah, I mean, I know a little bit, but yeah, this is if you get into there, this is the way to kind of design data models. And it just, for one, you don't need to. I mean, you don't need to connect these two. I mean, the scenario you're describing can easily be solved with a lookup table, right? So yeah, data tables shouldn't be connected. Okay, sorry, went on a bit of a journey there, but hopefully that helped. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Nolly's saying. So Nolly, I acknowledge that, but I think that's the trade-off you're making then. So you're saying large volume of data and need current. Well, then that's the trade-off you're choosing to make. I don't think there is a way around it. There are limitations everywhere. There are limitations in the query editor. There are limitations in DAX. Why they're there, I mean, I can kind of make a guess, right? I mean, but I wouldn't speak for Power BI team. So they want to build something that kind of works. They're trying to protect you from I would shut up. I wouldn't speak to the why they're there, but they're definitely there, both in the query and DAX. So if you're going that way, what I will say is often the big data and the updated every second assumption doesn't hold. And I realize for you it might be actually true, but for the benefit of others, let's go back over here. I never wrote this one down. Let's do that now. So let's go 01. So folks, I'm still waiting on my first caller. Is it? If you want to dial in, just go to talkpowerbi.com and use the dial in from there. But so direct query versus import. So I'm going to speak in general, not specifically about Nolly's case, but in general, the reasons for direct query are large data and frequent updates. And I will say, since I'm not a huge fan of direct query because it feels like one arm is tied behind my back, that's the trade-off. So, and I'm not happily, so I don't go there happily. I go there fighting, right? So I push them on the large data. Now, the largest data set that I've seen handled in Power BI is 1 terabyte. Man, that's pretty big. Although since then, so this is the project where I was involved, but since then I've seen demos with even bigger data sets. It blows away. The most recent demo that Christian Wade at Microsoft has been showing around has 1 trillion rows of data. It's crazy. I don't know how the byte size is, but so 1 terabyte of data. So this was the size of the data in like the SQL database. When they got into Power BI, this was compressed to 250 gigabytes. Now, of course, that's no surprise. Power BI is incredibly awesome at compression. It has this row, it doesn't use a row compression, you use a column compression, and fancy stuff, right? So it's really good at compression. So that was good. Now, of course, if you realize that you still can't do a 250 gigabyte PBIX file, right? So, you can't do that in Power BI desktop, but that's another reason why I love Power BI, is that you can scale it up. I mean, this is Microsoft, for heaven's sake. I mean, they would always have the scalability path. So you can learn in Power BI desktop, but take those same skills and apply that to Azure Analysis Server or SSAS Tabular. One is cloud-based, one is on-prem. They're both the same thing. They're essentially the big daddy of Power BI desktop, right? So that's how you scale up. So you're importing data, but you're using Azure Analysis or SSAS Tabular, and heck, big data, give me a terabyte of data. I know that can be handled, probably more. So that was the large data part. And for the frequent updates, let's so again, I push back again. I mean, direct query, you can make me do it, but I'll go there fighting. So I will say, well, how frequent do you need it? And often they'll say, oh, we need it right away. And I say, well, what action are you going to take on that? Right? I mean, if you see this happen in the last second, what action are you taking? Now, often when I really push them, I can have them back off to where they don't need real time. They can work with near real time. And then I'm usually talking to them about, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if they take a daily refresh, that's good. If it's more frequent, you can do 15-minute refreshes. But of course, if your data set is really large, then another thing that you absolutely must have is incremental refresh. If your data set is 1 trillion rows, you don't want to go every 15 minutes and get 1 trillion rows. It'll just be silly. Now, incremental refresh is there in SSAS Tabular. That is an on-prem option. I'm not sure. Maybe it is there in Azure Analysis as well. On Power BI, I would assume it is there. It is also available in PowerBI.com service, but only for premium customers. I know there's an idea out there. I mean, I really think it shouldn't be limited to premium. So there are a lot of options. So again, if you got to go direct query, go direct query, but it's a trade-off, and right now it's just no way around it. But I'm gonna go kicking and screaming because I like import. All right, hopefully it helped. Jen, call in, Jen. We haven't talked in a while. You went you know what? Should I just paste the call in? Maybe I should do that. Let's do that. I would love to talk to some of you. And hey, folks, let's try that. Quick question. I need to be able to use Power BI queries in Excel. Power BI models built and working, but need to get the same into Excel to format and make pretty. I absolutely get that. I love doing a model in Power BI and then connecting multiple visualization tools to it. Connecting Power BI, connecting Excel, connecting SSRS, connecting Tableau, whatever you want. All right, so Jen, you're on. Can I hear you?
Hello?
Yes. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing terrific. So you're asking about, you have your model in Power BI and you would like to build the report in Excel connected to the model, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first answer would be analyze in Excel if you're on the PowerBI.com service. Are you guys?
I'm not in a service. I actually, unfortunately, don't have that.
Got it. So let's just see if you can still push it. So
okay.
I'll give you a few options. Let's do the first option here. So hold on, let me write it out. So create Excel reports based on Power BI model. So the first one would be, if you were on PowerBI.com, which you said you're not, then that's okay. Then you can say analyze in Excel, and that would give you exactly what you're looking for. The next one would be, and it's not an easy one, but I'll still say it because it's nice if it's possible, is if you can work with somebody. Are you allowed to install software on your machines?
No, but they're pretty flexible about getting.
Okay, yeah, this one sometimes gets tricky because it's like supposedly a server, but what you can do is either so the odd story is that, man, I had to fight really hard in Microsoft in my group to have them adopt Power BI. I had to fight tooth and nail. I almost got fired or quit my job. I mean, it was so close to that. So it's weird. I mean, there's so much dynamic. Hopefully, in your organization, everybody's living kind of happily together. But what I had done was I had installed my own SSAS Tabular server, and what that lets you do, oh gosh, is publish a model there and then connect Excel or Power BI to that. Yeah, let's talk about the third option. So this one is gonna be slightly tricky. So you, so actually before I go to my final one, I don't know why I'm saving it up, is can I ask, why did you build the model in Power BI?
Well, I built the model in Power BI because, well, quite frankly, it's easier and it comes from different locations.
Well, but Power BI is inside Excel as well. The query editor, which is the main tool to connect to multiple data sources, bring it all together, it's there in Excel.
I know.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I just got to, I didn't realize that. I just got into Power BI and...
Yeah. Now, I will say that Power BI is definitely my strong preference as well. I don't know, it's just... everything feels a little more seamless to me in Power BI. So I'm not faulting you for that. I mean, that's my go-to tool to build models as well, and it just feels a lot more fluid to me. And of course, if you're building in Power BI, you get the visuals as well. And of course, hey, we're getting a little bit of echo. Maybe mute me on YouTube.
Okay.
And of course, okay, I'll wait for that. Okay, I think it's gone.
There, better?
All right, yeah. So, oh boy.
Or not.
Hold on, it might be still looping through. Hold
there, better? Or not.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Whew, all right.
Yeah, that was a little crazy.
So yeah, so do you like the Power BI visuals? Are you using them? Have you shown them around? Did people love it? Do you love it?
Oh God, I really love it. But unfortunately, I am kind of that only person using it.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time copy and pasting my visuals to PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But they love them. And I love the fact that I can create them so much easier than when I was using Excel.
Got it. So actually, I'm glad I'm kind of, so tell me more if you...
And I love the fact that I can create them so much easier. What is going on there?
Yeah, I think we had another call and maybe it was coming from there. So let's say you are able to connect Excel to your Power BI model. You have that report. Tell me, how is that going to be used? Like, are you going to do the same thing? You're going to paste that into a PowerPoint, or what would you do with that file?
Well, number one, there's a couple of things. Number one, there are some kind of, I guess, enhanced graphics in Excel, you know, shadowing and things like that.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
it gives
a possibility.
you a lot of control. That's what I love about Excel.
Yeah, it does. And Besides those presentations, I do have other reports that need to be in a specific format.
Yeah.
That isn't a typical table.
Yeah, but tell me how you would be sharing those reports. So you mentioned Power BI, you
Excel.
take a screenshot and put in Excel. Yeah, but do you send the Excel file? Do you put it in a network
Yes,
share?
many times I do send the Excel file. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ooh, all right. So good one to something. And is it? Oh gosh, this is going to be a little tricky. So, and do you expect that Excel file to be dynamic? Like, would they click on things and expect it to change?
No.
No. Whew, dodged a bullet there. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, if you said yes, then we were back to our original option. Then you need like a central thing which can kind of orchestrate that, right? So PowerBI.com, again, SSE established, something like that. So if it's kind of a static, like, hey, what you see is what you get. Here's a pivot table, there is it. Just go ahead, right? So, So again, like no slicers, nothing would work. Even filters wouldn't work.
Yeah, I understand.
I know that's a limitation, but let's talk about how you can. I mean, you have PowerBI.com and you have the limitations you have. You don't have PowerBI.com licenses, not for yourself or for the team. You don't have like a server on-prem report server where you can publish it. So this is what I would do. So let me actually share my screen on the call that we're here. YouTube, there might be a slight lag. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen on the call? We're dialed in?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I would do is I would take my model and we'll ignore that. And then I will do this. I will open up Excel and I would install a tool called DAX Studio.
I have that. I'm just not sure how to use it.
Perfect. Frankly, I'll show you what I use it for 95% of the time. It's a very capable tool, but I use it for this one thing. So I open up DAX Studio, and I'll show you another method as well, which is, you may like it more than DAX Studio. Yeah. So I go to DAX Studio, and I say connect, and it automatically detects my Power BI files that are open. Right now there's only one open, but if there are multiple open, yeah, it lets me select. So then I say, yeah, connect to it. Now, I love this interface simply for showing what I was talking to Nolly earlier, which is that these are all versions of the same thing. So Power Pivot that runs inside Excel, Power BI Desktop, and SSA Established Azure Analysis, they're all running the same engine. And that's why this tool can connect to either one of them. It's like, oh yeah, which one do you want to connect to? But the trick is that Tabular Server, the SSE Establisher that I talked about, that one is built to serve a wide audience. It can serve hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of users, right? So, and same with PowerBI.com. You can have hundreds of thousands there. The Power BI Desktop was never meant to be used like that, but it is the same engine. So what I do is when I connect to it, here I can read in DAX Studio where is that server that I can talk to. And since this wasn't meant to be used like this thing keeps changing. So every time you start your file, it'll be a different port number. But I don't really care. I mean, I just open the Power BI Desktop file. Step 1. Step 2, I open DAX Studio and go here, localhost 50796. And then I go and I open up Excel, and then I say data, get data, database, analysis services, because it's essentially analysis server, and I punch that in, localhost : 50796, 50796, next, finish, and this gives me a pivot table hot-wired to my Power BI model. And
really?
And I got everything that was available defined in there. Now it does lay it out slightly differently. It puts the measures separately, which I actually like. So
yeah, that is nice.
It's like these are the budget measures, and this is the actual table with the columns in it. And now, obviously, if anybody is used to Power Pivot, this is not Power Pivot because you can't define a measure. Frankly, you can't do anything here. Any changes you need to do the model, you can do it here. But I'll show you. Let's define something new here. I don't know. Let's just do something funny. So let's say we did a new measure, and we said sales year to date, and that was calculate sales, and then dates year to date, dates year to date. Oh, come on, autocomplete. Yes, year to date, calendar date, calendar. Okay, I think that's it. And so I got the new measure, and I'll just format it, right? And all you have to do, so right now, where was that? Formulas? I don't see that yet, but all I have to do is just refresh, and I'll see that. So, and yeah, so you're in the model, you can do anything you want. So let's do sales here, sales year to date here. And frankly, man, I miss this. I mean, this pivot. If you work with pivot tables, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I mean, anybody who's used to pivot tables, you crave pivot tables. I mean, you fly so fast in this. It's amazing. Yes. So now you got a calendar, and what I'm gonna say is gonna give me month, give me maybe year as a slicer. I mean, just do this stuff. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I love it. Right, so
I am really happy right now.
Okay, I'm glad. We'll get you a little bit better. So here, and by the way, so you have your scenario where you're trying to build reports. Mm-hmm. I also often use it for writing measures of debugging because it's so easy to kind of cross-check stuff and spot check stuff. It just, I don't know, I just feel like it's just like year to date. All I have to do is just drag this over here, check my sum over here. It says, oh well, sorry, wrong one. So I'll drag this over here, check the sum here. It's probably too small. Well, hold on, let me see. Let's try that again. So I select this over here, and I can see this should be 5021, and I can visually see that matches. And so many scenarios. So I also use it sometimes when I'm writing complex DAX measures, just kind of debug and spot check. But you can build full-on reports on this. Now, of course, the challenge is that every time you close, if you never close a Power BI desktop model, you're set, right? But every time you close it, the connection string changes, the port and all. So for that, I'm going to point you to an amazing friend who has also been featured on my channel. I'm just gonna go pull him up really quick. So the last time he was on, he shared a really cool approach of using variables to define measures, and man, I love it. It's awesome. He has something even better.
It's Matt.
Yes. So
yeah.
But he has Excel, Power BI. Oh boy, he has a blog article, Accelerator. Let's try Allington. Excel, Connect Excel. Maybe I'll go to his site and search. Oh boy, I think this is it. This is the gold mine. Oh, this is beautiful. So again, so you can do the DAX Studio approach, but it's great for the one scenario that I talked about, where I'm just debugging a measure. Then this is a throwaway file. I don't really care about it. But if you want it to be consistent, like next time I want to refresh it and so forth, then you're going to have a hard time updating the data connection. It's not that bad. You just connect to it again and change. So I'll show you. So in the definition, you have to change two things. One, the port, and then this GUID here, this one. So it's not crazy, but why do that when you can have Matt's file, which can do that with one click? So it's smart. You just open it and then you click refresh, and it does what I described. Well, using a VBS script essentially, right? So it goes in and finds the new port and the new GUID and sets it for you. So go check that out. I'm gonna put that in the chat window for YouTube and everybody, guys. Let Matt know that I sent you. All right, now.
Okay.
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's the beauty of Power BI. Somebody was one of my big videos is Power BI versus Tableau, and somebody said, "Oh, I like Tableau because it's a community, because it's been around longer." And I'm like, dude, you haven't hung around in the Power BI community. Yeah, it's just great how much people are just out there, and just everybody's so giving. Sets the bar for me. Terrific. So I think this is going to be like great. You can have all the reports and you can just send it to them. And heck, I would say put the slicers in and let them click, and it would fail for them. And if they say, "Oh, I want those to work," then you would say, "Hey, talk to so and so. Vote for my petition to the whatever, the CTO for getting PowerBI.com licenses," because then everybody can have it and it'll be fully interactive. Anyway.
We're working on it, Avi.
yeah, chisel away at it. Yeah, All right, terrific, Jen. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you.
All right, so folks, the link that I pasted earlier, the zoom.us, that is. Oh, did we have another caller? Hold on. Maybe we do. Nidhin, is that right? Oh, we don't seem to have audio from you, Nathan. So try that. Try joining the audio. Hey, let me put it here. And of course, folks who maybe will do one more call. Where did the link go? This guy. I'm going to paste it again. So yeah, use that for dial in. So Q Sally, this is gonna be on my channel right after we're done. Oh shoot, actually it's so odd. So YouTube, if you go over 2 hours, which I think we just did, we just crossed 2 hours, then it's not available immediately. It takes some time, but in fact, hey, if you want to binge watch, of course I enjoy the live calls for the live interaction. So I would love to see you there on the live calls. But all of the live calls, if you just go to my channel, all of them are available in this playlist. And
do you
yeah, I don't know. This really shouldn't be the top of this, but yeah, you can see the $1 billion financial model with Michael Stanton. That one is there from one of our earlier Fridays. What is the next one? Organizational level dashboard with Vivek Patel, really good one. Financial reporting, that was a popular one. Real Power BI, that's close to my heart. Lots of good stuff. So yeah, you can go back and binge watch that if you like. Now, what I would say is that, and we talked about this on the call earlier today, is focus on the 20%.
Hi, Eric.
Now, what I would say is, all right, so Nathan, if you can hear me, just mute me on YouTube, because otherwise it makes it a feedback loop. So folks, I'll finish up. Hey, Nathan, if you're watching me on YouTube, maybe shut that down or mute that. Okay, I think that went away. Oh, shoot, dang it. If you're watching me on YouTube, I'll let you sort it out. So okay, cool. So then that drop off. Yeah. So if you're starting out, even if you're not starting out, don't get lost in the weeds. Power BI seems like overwhelming. It shouldn't. Focus on the 20%. I'll draw that thing again. That gives you 80% of the returns. 80% of the returns. All right. not drawn to scale. And then you can take your time to do that 80%. And I'm still on that journey, my friend, which gives you the rest of the stuff. But believe you me, I mean, there is so much heavy lifting you can do, so much incredible stuff without necessarily being like a DAX ninja or an M ninja or anything, right? And my advice would be that it's best so I have this theory of push versus pull learning. So it's best that the first 20% is pushed to you. It's a nightmare to try to patch it together by Google and YouTube, and you're sitting down with a whole bunch of jigsaw pieces and you realize some are missing. It's just insanity. So it doesn't work that way. So again, you don't have to go to my course. Anybody you like. There's a lot of content out there. And oddly enough, paid courses work better because of the commitment. So it's kind of one of those odd things. Once you commit to it, then you're going to step up and show up for yourself. And of course, hey, there's good content in my course. So that's a push approach. And the rest of the stuff, you can pull it. You can pull it to you when you need it. Like today, we were talking about the difference between calculate all and calculate all. And we ran into this one scenario. Do you really need that for do the bulk of the work? It's definitely not part of the 20%. It's an oddity. It's like this weird thing in DAX. If you run into it, it's just a Google search away, right? So that one you can pull to you. But if you try learning the core that way, good luck. And really ask yourself how well has that been working for you, right? I mean, a lot of students who join my course are like, yeah, I've been meaning to learn Power BI for the last X months, X years. All right, cool. Let's see. Wait, what's did I snooze on the chat? What happened here? Loretta Sue, I have a project that I'm not started yet. Well, what I'll need to do is to take CSV files that have data download from a service and I'll combine them with query editor. Good. At the end, I need to then split the data set into Excel files and save the files in different folders. The data set includes all the departments. Split the data into department A file. Okay. Loretta Sue, let's take it on. All right, cool. Okay, Q Sally, did you have a question on Power BI Gateway? Does not work my Power BI does not work when I publish to PowerBI.com. So I'll ask you which piece does not work. I mean, I would assume that the report works, like you can see your data. So I'm assuming that you're talking about the refresh. And yes, that's right. So if you have, PowerBI.com lives off in the cloud. Let's try it again. What happened here? Ooh, hold on. Okay, let's try that. So PowerBI.com lives off in the cloud. Should I try to draw a cloud? Okay, not bad. And if your data sits on, kind of on-prem, if it's not in the cloud, then when you build the model, the PBIX file, locally, the refresh would work. You can open the file and refresh it, but when you send it up on the PowerBI.com, this is not going to work unless you establish a gateway. So yeah, so there's just, actually there is a way around it. So the workaround is that instead of running the refresh over here, right, that's option one, like refresh on the cloud. The other option is you refresh and publish locally. And publish locally. And I'm not talking about opening the file, hitting the refresh. This has to be automatic. Automatic, can I spell it right? And you can do that using third-party tools. And I swear I don't get money by these guys. So the company is called PowerOnBI.com, and I know that's my tagline. Actually, the owner amazing guy. He was inspired by my tagline. He saw that and he named the company after him. I feel honored. What can I say? PoweronBI.com, and they have a product called Power Update. And I've used it personally. So again, no affiliation. They don't pay me or anything. Yeah, that's a tool that you can use to schedule the refresh here. And what it does, it refreshes locally, so you don't have to worry about the gateway. And then it just pushes the file on PowerBI.com. So it's a novel solution. I have used it in quite a few scenarios. So if you somehow don't want to do the gateway route, then you can try this. Okay. All right. Hey, Loretta Sue, do you wanna call in? You can use either the student line or the Zoom call. But I'll go to your question right after this. Let me check what Vikas is saying. Love your content. Thank you, Vikas. Been learning. Okay, he's just giving me love. Thank you. Really appreciate that. All right, let's go to Loretta Sue's question. And again, Loretta, if you can dial in, great. If not, well, just stay on, and I may have some questions for you. The first step is spelling your name right. No. Okay. Process CSV files to Excel. I think this we would be able to do this. So let's focus in on this. So what are the key things here? So the key things are input. Input is a bunch of CSV files. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, let's see. Loretta Sue. Oh, you don't have audio yet. Hey, if you join the audio, make sure you mute me on YouTube. Otherwise, I'll do that weird echo thing. All right. So if you're able to join audio, just say hi. Import, and I'm gonna take this time to read out aloud. All right, good. We have audio, but we might have a little bit of feedback. So make sure.
Do I have feedback?
Yeah, mute me on YouTube or close that. Muting should be enough. I think we're good. Yeah, I'm not hearing it. All right. So walk me through. What I got was you getting input files, and you need to output Excel files after some processing, after some. Is that the gist of it?
Yes.
Okay. And have you taken a shot at this? Do you have some idea how you would approach this?
The Power Query portion I have down.
Okay.
So that's fine. I can sort it. I can do all of my smoothing.
Yeah.
And I can then within the Power Query, I choose a department. I get the data. I push it to a table, and then I send them that table. But I'm trying to figure out a way where I can do that and save it within a file on a server where I can just do it once and sort of have it pushed out within Excel.
Yeah. So so I think so. Let me make sure I understand. So right now you use Power Query to connect to CSV, parse them the way you need it, and then what do you do? Do you manually kind of save versions of that file or copy that over to new files and then save that?
I save versions.
Okay. So you would
I'll save a version for Department A.
Yeah.
And then I'll save it on the server for them, and I'll save a version for Department B, and I'll save it on the server for them. So I'm doing this over and over and over again.
Got it. And when you say server, is it like a SharePoint, network share? What is it? Network file share? What is it?
It's actually it's a Box server. It's through Box, but it's like a server. We've migrated over to Box. So
okay, I'm not familiar with that. Can you map it to a drive?
Yes.
So two options come to mind. One is some sort of Excel VBA. That wouldn't be my first preference. I would first look at I would look at the tool that I just mentioned, Power Update. That has capabilities of automation, where you can say, go refresh this file, and I'm not really sure how you would do versions of that file. How many departments are there?
Oh, lots. Probably, lots. I'm going to say 100.
Wait, so are you doing this manually right now? You're saying hundreds of versions of the file?
Right now I'm doing 25, but potentially up to 100. So I'm doing 25 to the 25 main areas. Yeah. There's 25 main areas. And then I take that file, and then they can then take that file and split it up, because then it becomes their responsibility, not mine.
Okay.
The goal is that we can just make it a singular process. And yes, I've done the Excel VBA where I can create all the different tabs, and then I can take that and split that into the different files, and I can send those different files. So that part I know how to do. I was trying to figure out if there's a way, because the data can't be shared between the departments. So what's Department A's is Department A's, what's Department B's is Department B's. So I can't have them joined to a common data source, because the data set is everybody, but I can't have everybody sharing the data.
Okay, that's fair. Now, what I'll say is Excel VBA can also do the next steps. It can split off sheets and save it to folders.
Oh, can it really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it would. Man, I spent a lot of time Googling when I was working with VBA, so it would take some work. I do want to explore other options too, but it can definitely do that. It can save off, So, and I think, that VBA wouldn't live in the file that you're using. I'm imagining, and I'm not like the best expert in VBA, but it would be like a master file, which will have this VBA code, and the job of this master file would be to open the file 100 times in a loop. So it'll open that file and do the first tab, only keep the first tab of something, and save it off in one folder. And then second one, save it on another folder. And you may have to feed it. Yeah, right? So, it'll just run through a list. And maybe you can feed it, like sheet 1, this is the location. Sheet 2, this is the location. Sheet 3, this is the location. And it'll just run through that in a loop and say, I'm saving sheet 1 here, sheet 2 here, and so forth. So VBA can do that. But let's just throw around some other ideas. Now, for one, what I would say is when I hear this, that data cannot be shared, we cannot have a common data source, I wouldn't quite agree with that. I mean, the standard solution is row-level security. So it is possible to have a common data source, but a department only be able to see their own content. It does take some heavy lifting, though.
Can you do that within Excel? I know I can do it within Power BI.
Yeah, you cannot do that in Excel.
I can't do that in Excel. And right now I am constrained by doing this within Excel. Yes, I've done row-level security in Power BI, so that part I'm good with.
All right, great. So yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of put it there. Just so we kind of acknowledge that. I mean, that's the typical solution, but that's not the option. I would look at Power Update. So and it seems like you are pretty savvy with Excel and VBA as well. But for others who are listening who have something similar, Power Update, and I talked about the scenario with the refresh. It has it's pretty nice. It may be worth looking into. For you, actually, I think, Lourdes, too, for you, I would just look at automating the last step, because it seems like you're already so close to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, terrific. Alrighty, we got another caller, John. Oh, I don't have audio for John yet. Oops.
How do I turn this off here?
All right, John, I see you on the call. It looks like you're drawing on my screen. I didn't know how not. Was I don't know what's happening. Clear. Okay, cool. That was pretty cool. Let's see. So folks on the phone, so Dan, Scott, Steve, yeah, if you have any questions, I kind of get lost sometimes with the YouTube, and just speak up. And let's go back to YouTube. What I will say is, guys, this is the real world. You know, we talked about that. You gotta work with the constraints and just come up with the best solution you can. I try to use Power BI whenever I can, but sometimes I don't have to. All right, John. Oh, wait. We had the audio and then it dropped off. I don't know what happened. I have built an audience builder slicing and dicing by dozens of data points. That's DTLA. The output is a list of emails currently unable to export more than 30,000. Yes. Ooh. Let's do this. Okay. And wow. So guys, I was expecting this is going to be a short call. Not that I would have preferred that. I love hanging out with you, but I'm like, you know, Black Friday, you know, day after Thanksgiving, and I don't know who's going to join, and you know, we don't have an assigned topic, but so glad to have all of you here. So this is your DTLA. This is right, and I'll say export large amount of data. Holy moly. I'm assuming you're building it from Power BI. Why in the world? I always get, I mean, for me as a model author, this is a red flag when somebody's looking to mass export, bulk export the data. Because this was the days of the old tools where we would have, I don't know, should I say some names? Cognos and blah, 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 all of that, even SSRS. And it would be a big report with like 50 fields in there, all just flattened, and everybody would just export it. And that's what IT would provide. And of course, they were not using the export. What they were putting that in Excel and doing something else. So I would assume that you have a really good reason to export it. Maybe you're sending it off to somebody else. So like, hey, you have like a marketing agency or somebody's, hey, marketing agency, here you go. Here's a list of 30,000 emails and or 250,000 emails. Go send them my special offer for Black Friday or Cyber Monday, something like that, right? So you're not doing reporting off of that. Let's see. You love to export 1 million. Oh my gosh, the list of emails is important. Another system of marketing. Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, great. So good. The scenario is kind of what I was expected, hope for. Bulk export and up to 1 million rows. 1 million rows. Man, we should sync up. It seems like you're doing some good stuff around online marketing. How do you bulk export? Now, this is really good. I'm glad you're doing it because you can, of course, bring in multiple data points for your audience based on email, like you know, what they signed up for and what are they interested in, all sorts of stuff. And then you might be able to segment your audience and say, I'm interested in the people who signed up within the last month and are also interested in topics A, B, and C. So clearly, I can see where Power BI would fit in. But once you ask that, and then you would say, oh, cool, now I want to kind of export it and use it somewhere else. How would you export up to 1 million rows? How would you do that? Let's see. Let's say, how about, and so the first idea that I had was connect Excel to Power BI, but that would still limit it to 1 million rows. So connect Excel to Power BI. If you missed the earlier part of this show, then we talked about it with Jen Naval. So just, did I get the name right? Yes, I think so. So go back to that. It was, well, the call started at 12, so this was at 1:41 p.m., so about 2 hours, 41 minutes into the call. So go back and watch that. So that would be one way, and this is how it would look like. This would look like something like this, and you would just bring in, and I mean, I don't have email, but I have customers. So you're just going to say, put your filters on there, all of your slicers. Let's say, let's redo this. So you would say, give me, I don't have, let's just do full name for now, because I don't have email. So this is all the customers, but you would filter that, say, I don't know, by specific occupation. So whatever you have available in your model, you would say, you know, give me kind of the management workers who have 2 kids. And I don't know. I think this should work for up to 1,048,576 rows or something, right? So that's one option, but that's still constraining. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Let's try another approach. And this is making a repeat appearance because DAX Studio was also discussed when I was talking to Jen Nabel. So I'll do this. I'll go to my DAX Studio and build a query to give me a CSV file. Query to CSV file, and this would have, I think it's going to have no limitation, no limits. You can export as many, as large, 1 million, 5 million, it should still work. And it's pretty simple. This is really simple. So guys, if you've been writing DAX, the only difference in DAX Studio is it is using DAX as a query language. Evaluate, yeah, a query language. Now, if anybody is used to SQL, you know, SQL is used as a query language. Now, DAX generally, I use it for calculation, for returning single values. Here, it's going to return a table. So if I just say evaluate customer, then oh well, this is going to take some while because there are lots of rows. Now I get all the customers. If I wanted to filter it, don't have all of the customers. If I wanted to say where customer occupation, so this returned 18,000 rows. Occupation equals management. Ooh, that was a little too big. Let's make it small. So simple. I run a query, and now I'm not sure if you guys can see in the bottom. This returned just 3,075 rows, right? So filtered set. So same way you slice and dice your data in your visual, same way you can kind of slice and dice it and apply it in the DAX language. And the best part is you're going to change the output to a file. And now if I run it, it's just going to send it right to a file. And I can just, you know, just give it a name, and it's a text file, and it's sent to them. All right, friend. Hopefully that solves your problem. Let's see if anybody else. Oh, detail list of emails. Some sort of hash using 20 million. Yeah, perfect. All right. So okay, it seems like you like that DAX Studio solution. Yeah. Ooh, okay, Sam has an interesting question. Now, let's try something extra. Now, I'll admit I have thought about it. I have never tried it. So let's try it, and we'll see how it's gonna work. So the thing is that sometimes when I'm in my Power BI report, I feel very comfortable slicing and dicing my customers. For example, I can be here and I can say, you know, just show me everybody whose last name starts with D and something like that, year 2015, right? So, you know, I can visually work with this. I'm not equally comfortable with using DAX as a query language. Some of you might be, but I'm not. I rarely use DAX as a query language as here. I use it to write measures. There, I usually feel comfortable, but here, sometimes I kind of get stuck. So what you can do is, and again, I've never tried it before, so I have no idea how it's going to do. But what if we run a trace on this? Ooh, so I'm already connected to this, so I'm gonna run a trace on this for all queries, and we'll see how that goes. So now if I go over here and I refresh this, and then I go back to my trace, ooh, you can grab the query that was there. Although this query looks insane. Oh gosh, I was hoping for something simple because anyway, let's try it. Can I copy it? Can I copy it? What if I stop this? Oh gosh, I can't seem to. Oh no. Oh, it did copy it. It did copy it. Let's see if I can run it. Oh dang it. Let's try again. Oh gosh, come on. Didn't it copy it? It was a how do I do word wrap? Can I do word wrap? I guess not. Let's just run it. So it generated some random query, and what happens if I do run it? Oh, okay. Not what I expected. Oh, gosh, I think there's it theoretically should have worked. So that well, I see. The first query was just a dummy, was just gimme. This is the real query that was run. Evaluate filter customer. So anyway, so let's try that again, shall we? So I'm gonna all queries. This one is, let's just delete it, and I'm gonna go back here. And how many are these? Let's add a slicer here. So let's add a slicer for education. Okay, all right, so we have, and how many do we have? About 651. Okay, so if we go back to our connected model, and then I start the trace on all queries, saying, hey, I want to monitor any query that hits the system. And then I go here, and again, you can do this in Power BI. You don't have to do this in Excel. And I say, show me people with bachelors. And it ran a query in the back end. So let's go back. And I think the lesson here was to wait a little bit. Somehow it took some time for the next query to show up. I don't know. All right, we'll come back to this. But again, you saw the idea. The idea is that if you're not really fancy here, then you can build something in Power BI and just watch the query that is generating in the back end and just copy that. So, you know, I mean, usually if you're doing simple stuff, you don't need this. You should be able to do it. All right, let's take Sam's question. So Sam, I might need some help with you to recreate it. Let's go over here. Oh boy, 2030. Sam. And Sam says, oops, 2 columns, select 2 columns. Individual, oops, colors for data columns. In the visual, when I select 2 columns from a table, they all show one single color. I'm not, well, let's just try it. So let's say that you're seeing 2 columns, they both show the same color. Are you doing something like this? We're saying show me sales by customer education. And then you're saying show me sales by customer occupation. And then you're saying, well, this one is occupation. I want this to be a different color. Well, so you could go to the data colors and change that. But is that not good enough? Maybe you have a scenario where this somehow doesn't work or doesn't work as well. Automatically. I mean, that's a good question. Now I know that there's a lot of stuff you can do with themes, but I'm not savvy. Try asking the Power BI tips guys, see if they have something, and I think they're gonna love this question. So Power BI tips, folks, if you haven't met those guys, pretty amazing. Mike Carlo, Seth Bauer, and they have some amazing stuff visually, theme generator and so forth, layouts, they're pretty phenomenal. But what I do not know if themes, so you can like create themes with your own colors and that sort of stuff, so totally change the palette that's used over here. I don't think, yeah, I don't know if there's any way to do it automatically. Now, of course, now that I'm thinking about it, a good practice for visualization is consistency. So if occupation, you're showing, maybe you're always showing it in purple. It'll be pretty cool to kind of set that somewhere as a default, that hey, whenever I drag this field in occupation, it's always shown in purple. Now I don't know if it is or it is not possible using themes. Yeah, so sorry, couldn't quite help you there, but maybe these guys would know. If anybody would know, it would be these guys. And again, for everybody else, do check it out. Again, don't focus on that 20%. Realize that what's under the hood, the model, the query editor, the relationships DAX, that's the crux of it. Once you do that right, the other stuff becomes easy. Creating reports and visualizations should be just drag and drop from your field list. It should be as easy as that. And when it comes to visualization, simple is good. Less is more. Don't feel like you need a really fancy dashboard for it to be effective. Let the data be the star of the show. If you have the right data points, let them shine and do the talking rather than, your urge to make it look really slick. I hear like, oh man, it looks like $1 million. But what I ask is it worth $1 million? Is it showing me numbers that's going to make me $1 million more or save $1 million in costs? Ooh, man. Okay, dude, that's going on the tweet board later on. Hey, I say that's a good note to end on things. Don't focus on the visualization. Don't be fixated on building a dashboard that looks like $1 million. It should be worth $1 million. All right, my friends, I'll take off. And again, the schedule is a little bit tricky for December because I'm taking a break. We'll be spending 1 month in India, traveling around. Really looking forward to that. But I'll still be on. And of course, all you have to do is just make sure you stay subscribed and you'll be notified. You'll see if you go on the channel, youtube.com/PowerBIPro. Oops, that's not my channel. Here, this one. Then you will see the upcoming schedule on there. And of course, if you're notified and you click that bell, that's the important part now with YouTube, then you are going to get a notification as well. All right, my friend, until next time, power on.